Hello, my dear ones. How are you? How have you been? Oh, that is good. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, thanks. You didn't have to do that.
That's okay.
Thanks, sweetheart. I appreciate it much. Let me get this straightened around here. How are you all been? This has been rocking around here. Rocking, rocking, rocking. There was an artist at the class that gave me this little book of all her artwork. Look at this. Isn't this neat? A little neat, just full of artwork. That's cool as all get out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, you guys are so talented and creative. Some of you guys that are artists, start trying to paint things that you see in your contemplations or meditations. If you're taken to a spiritual city or a temple of some sort, see if you can replicate that in art, because some of these places are just outstandingly beautiful. And for those that not everyone has the ability to travel, not everyone has the ability, same abilities, and that's okay. It's all in what you want to work on and where you develop yourself along this journey. That's why it's important that you wake up to yourself and your journey instead of just following your thoughts and emotions. That you wake up to that and start gaining control so you can become aware of your journey. I'm going to have to do this one later. These are neat. These are neat. Someone gave me this a long time ago, but these things are neat. And what is she? Her name is Jane. The original ideal diet. But anyway, she's got some beautiful jewelry. Beautiful pieces out there. Yep. Beautiful pieces, huh? Yep. I want to thank my dear friend. And he had to sit on the floor, but he didn't have to. But thank you, my dear friend. Making a poster from the class. And a lot of people signed it there. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'll hang that up. Yep. Oh, and I've got all kinds of neat things from the class. I got some of the most beautiful cards and Canadian scarves. Is that cool? And an insulated tumbler. All kinds of neat things. Thank you, my dear one. These are some very precious people. So thank you all so much. I have some nice shelves here where I like to display all that. Someone sent me this one. This is an old one though. Dr. Strike, Deaths Decrease. That's an old one. But how true. How true. You know, if you shut down the AMA, everybody thinks, oh my God, all these people are going to die. That's not the truth. The truth is that if you shut down the AMA tomorrow, millions of people would have life where they didn't before. That's how many people are being killed every day and every year in this world. Millions, millions worldwide every year. That doesn't even have to. That you all can fix up yourselves. You know, you guys are just such beautiful people, I tell you what. I'm so proud of each and every one of you for grabbing your power back, you know, grabbing your journey, awakening yourselves to the reality of the present moment and all that that implies. Joy, happiness, have some fun while you're here. You know, the negative forces, these are the negative times in most religious systems and in spiritual systems. I think in the Hinduism, it's the Kali Yuga, referred to as the Kali Yuga, which is the, according is the negative yuga. So, you know, it definitely, you can see it. I'll say this is the perfect time to get out of your mind. Those that are in their minds are going crazy. Those that are outside are those that are seeing the truth. So be careful how you chase your thoughts. But funny about that, this is from last name Duck, what's it, Jiomi? But yeah, typical. How true is it? And this was a factual study that they did. What was it, in London or somewhere? But it's like a British Medical Journal. But this is something we've known so much of these facts for so long that naturopaths have, and of course some of the old greats that are now not living that were friends of mine. You know, they really dug into truth and brought out a lot of this stuff. You know, and I'm glad you guys are finding it. Angela, I'll have to tell you, I have to give you a lot of love here. Remember I told you I talked to the dad that had the little a 9-month-old baby with cancer in the eye? Well, one of you beautiful people are helping this baby, and he's getting better. Woo-hoo! Woo! Tumors have gotten smaller. Angela, keep going. Keep going till you get that tumor completely out. Remember, in this baby, 9 months, kidney, adrenals, and lymphatic, you know, and really go out this. You're obviously doing some good work because of getting that tumor out of that eye. That would be that shows you. Doctors were curious as to what she's doing because of it. I bet curious. You know, I've had many a medical doctor ask me, "How'd you do that?" You know, from newspaper stories and stuff that we've made through the years. And we made front page of the local newspaper one year because we cleaned up a few people of the C word, of what they were diagnosed with. Of course, we just cleaned their bodies up of acids and tumors and things like that. But we made the front page of the newspaper, and that didn't go over well with a lot of people. Yeah, matter of fact, the medical doctor, one of them that was involved with one of the cases, this is a big woman. She, this medical doctor, got the state down on me, and he wrote the state this very derogatory letter about his own patient, and this is just a young girl that wanted to go this way instead of his way, and so the state did come down on me, but we handled that pretty well. Freaked the state out, matter of fact. You're going to come after us, be prepared. But, you know, it's just, we're going to come back at you with everything we've got. It's just, that's the way it is. You know, I've lived through, 45 years of suppression and everything else from the allopathic community. Called every kinds of names. My friends like Jensen and Splavik and all these other great healers, same thing, except maybe even worse. Jensen Doc told me a lot of stories from the past. Some neat ones. Some other time I'll tell you one about Sai Baba and Jensen. Pretty cool stories, you know. A lot of great stories. Matter of fact, I've got some of the films that Jensen and Splavik went down and filmed down in, I think it was Brazil, and did the psychic surgeries. I've got that on film. I've got all kinds of neat films that Jensen had here. It's all kinds of stuff, fun stuff, you know. Because the power of wellness, the power of feeling good, the power of feeling free, the power of knowing yourself more as opposed to hitchhiking on another. These are great feelings, great expressions, and much greater. The humans have reduced themselves to a very shallow life on this planet. Need to turn that around and make your lives greater and full of robust fun and health and stuff. So what if we have to learn how to change our diet? So what? I mean, I'm a male, and that wasn't difficult. You know, suffering is kind of the modus operandi to change, though. You notice that? The patterns of the mind. Now, I'm working on a new stack here. Jen just gave to me, so these are the latest questions that you have. Oh, I want to read this one on YouTube. Okay. This was a pretty good one. This was from this. I can't even pronounce the first name. Daisha. Not like dossier, but something like that. But this is she's a lifestyle coach in a wellness clinic in Utah. I'm pretty sure that's a female name, but forgive me. You got country boy syndrome. Excuse me. In a wellness clinic in Utah, I've had a rough medical history in my 44 years until about 8 years ago when something shifted inside, and I realized that there must be a different way to handle my chronic issues. And so many of you have chronic issues. And you're young. That's why I do this, guys. That's why I'm out there fighting for you guys every day. You, especially you young teenagers and 20-year-olds who are suffered all your friggin' life. Jesus Christ. Horrible. This horrible stuff out there. But it's all karma. You have to remember that. Is that somewhere, sometime on a long journey, you created the blowback. So you have to just uncreate it. And that's why we're all here to help. Every one of you that are waking up to your true spirituality are helping others to awake. And in that awakening, they will work off their karma they've created. And you guys are perfectly suited for that. You were sent, a lot of you were sent here for that. You're just now wakening up to that. And you guys are way showers and messengers from the divine. Some of you thought you were something different. I've researched like crazy and was able to wean off all my medications. Well, that's pretty good. That led me on this amazing journey where I realized that my calling in life was to be a light worker, a healer, someone to inspire all the joys God wanted us to experience in this life. Amen. I enrolled to earn a bachelor degree in natural medicine, and about halfway through it was very clear that none of my learning was truth. Absolutely. Isn't that sad? Most of these nutritional courses are American Dietetics Association, which stands on the pinnacle of lies, propaganda, and hardly anything they know is true. It's amazing. They ignore all the laws of natural healing and wellness. And so you have schools and hospitals and prisons dictating these kind of thinking in their food sources. It's too bad. So she found it was very clear that wasn't where to go. So I changed my focus onto Ayurvedic program because I love how they work with the people to follow nature cycles and rhythms. I'm still completing that program. Yeah, you know what? Matter of fact, Michael Tara has an East-West. He has a herbal program. I've never done his, but I'd recommend his. I think he's a good dude, and I know his wife has an herb book out, pretty sure. I've got that one. But I use his books for references occasionally, absolutely. In the confusion of all the different perspectives out there, I confess to trying just about every diet out there. But I don't blame you, though. You know, in the seeking of truth, sometimes it takes you to hell and back. You know? But it makes you stronger, more powerful, that you've done that. You just don't wallow in it. You know, don't wallow in your suffering. Don't wallow in any of that. Pull back and grab control and take care of this. I'm giving you the keys to unwind your suffering, both spiritually and physically. And that's all you got to do. Just relax. Just relax. And learn who you really are by getting out of your thoughts and your desires for a little while. Take a break from thinking and from desiring. That's no big deal, right? Try it. That shows you how habitual the mind, thought is, and desire is. It's hard to stop thinking. As simple as that might sound. Try it. Try stop thinking for a minute. Any thoughts rolling in about this time? If they do, just shove them out there, but you want to always be in that present moment with no thought. Watch your thoughts from a distance, so to speak. Fun stuff if you work it, because you will be so much more awake and so much more powerful and so much more happy, for sure. The paleo way of 4 years had really hurt my left kidney. Yeah, see, that's the problem. Remember I said kidneys do not like proteins. So you got to avoid them, because especially if you have kidney weakness, which is almost everybody, proteins are not the food source for humans. Matter of fact, proteins are not the food source for any vertebrae except one. Out of all the creatures on the planet, really in the 4 basic vertebrae, there's only one. And too much of that can make them sick, and that's cats. Bears are not high proteins. Dogs are not high protein, and when you do, that's why they have universal kidney weakness. Exactly why dogs don't live as long as they should, all the other things. The ketogenic diet brought me to vomiting when I'd been over to scrub a foot bath or change the TP roll. I knew this was not good. I returned to researching because from some leading chiropractors. including my boss, was that I needed to keep trying until I adapted to the fat intake. Now, you know what's amazing to me is when you go on these things and your boss, whether it's a chiropractor, naturopath, or whatever, tells you to keep going, forget the symptoms, keep on going. That's a dangerous thought. That's a very dangerous thing for a chiropractor to say, and could put him out into some liability factors. You have to be real careful what you tell somebody, even if you're licensed up. You have to be real careful what you tell people. You know, I've been on the chopping block a lot, so I can tell you. However, because she was trying to get used to the fats, they ended up removing her gallbladder about 10 years ago, before my natural health pursuit began. My job became very personal, and I was coaching sick people to better their health, and I didn't feel as I was getting the correct information. So I began praying for guidance and for strong intuition so I could help others. And a lot of you are. What's nice about our level is that our level works. You might be working through people's extremeness, chronicness, but okay. But it works. And it's great. Through a series of stepping stones, I found you. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. You got that. Now, this is a spiritual lady. Only spiritual people know that one. Everything you said on the videos brought my patience forward in my mind, giving me a sense of hope that I was finally on the right track. So I bought your book, and I'm enjoying the information in there. I'm doing about 90% fruit at this time. I detox horribly, and I know my left side of my body is really sluggish in the lymphatics. It's because that left kidney, see? And I feel my high-protein diet in the past messed up my left kidney and adrenal gland. Probably did. You know, especially when you have a weakness already, it can take that weakness right down. You know, when you have weaknesses, you don't add acid ash diets, or acid forming diets, however you wish to call that. And you know, and they break you down. And finally, we're all learning this after our suffering, and you still have those that we trusted to tell us the truth still telling us to eat high protein. And that's because it takes a lot of years for people to catch up with what you know. This planet will be many years catching up with what you guys already know. So you just have to plan on it. You look at the AMA, there's always 50 years behind me. At least 50 years. That's the way it is. It's consciousness is hard to open up because of the mind. And when you get into something as highly academic as the medical community, only those that can be able to handle it should ride with it, because it just builds narcissism and separation and all this. And that doesn't serve anybody well. Plus, the modality doesn't work well anyway. The more fruits I eat, the stronger I feel. My spiritual connection grew, and sometimes I don't even feel like I sleep. Tell me about it. But instead have long conversations with God. Tell me about it. That sounds so strange to actually put that down. You know, when you're having a conversation with yourself, you're having a conversation with God. Remember that. And don't let anybody sell you short, because there's plenty of beings here willing to pull you down from your awakeness. Because as soon as you start to awaken, something will be biting at your heels, the negative forces, to bring you down. It's classic. You just have to go, listen to the hand. The face is not listening. My dual blood pressures show that I am trying to be diligent. And it's neat that this lady's got it. She gets the dual blood pressures. When you understand blood pressures, kidney and adrenals on the top, systolic, kidneys on the bottom, you know you have two of them. Why wouldn't you have two different? And get this, for you diabetics, you have two different blood sugars. And I was just doing an eye, and I was recording it. You know, I'm doing audio iris analysis, and one of this guy's eyes, of course, was, and this was a brown eye, and it was like not a lot of lymphatic stagnation. The other eye, almost complete lymphatic stagnation. And I've got this for the class because this is one pic to show you in a brown eye just the bilateralness of the kidneys and the factor of what happens when one stops to filter over another. which is generally the case to some degree. And so she's just becoming aware of this quite a bit here. And this is the other thing. When you start consuming high consciousness foods, for you spiritual people, fruits and berries are high consciousness foods. For those in physics, they're just high magnetic, energetic foods. For those in chemistry, they're just high in chemistry, in the goodies, in nutrition. You have win, win, win. With good tree-ripe fruits, plant-ripe berries, and and melons. Especially tree-ripe, plant-ripe. I'm not told anyone about that because they'll all think I'm off my rocker. You know what? As I get older, who cares? Who cares what your neighbor thinks? Who cares what your lover thinks to a certain point? I mean, each and every one of you are here as an individualization of the divine. That's obvious. You might not be aware of it, but as you lose your bodies and become more and more consciousness, you'll be awake of that. So a lot of people sell themselves short because they're looking from the small self to the infinite. Don't waste your time, for you'll be forever and you'll never get to the infinite because you're keeping yourself finite. You have all freedom that you want to do anything you want to do. You can wake up right now if you want to, like that. You can do whatever you want. Just be careful how you limit yourself. You know, anybody watch the Bush people? Now, I've got a movie producer friend, and I hope she works with Discover. I hope she can get to him. But that wife, she's not going to have a chance in hell if they don't come find some place that they can put her. Like we have a halfway house down here that we put people into that are advanced. Get her in there. Get all the kids to go back to their Brownstown. And let's get that out of her lungs. But the way they have, you know, it's left side. So she only has 2 lobes over here. And it's extreme pain on her for a long time. None of that's good. And her diet, and notice that they just got a cow here last year. So they're drinking milk like crazy. So you can already see her extreme acidosis, high protein type diets in Alaska, right? But with the dairy products now you see the tumors coming. And that's just what you're seeing. And so if someone can get to her, maybe we can save her. But if she goes the allopathic way, that show's got may change a little. Okay, so I apologize. Even before I found your information, I had decided to specialize in the lymphatic. Okay, my cousin's daughter is 3, and she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. All right, a patient to the office I work at was found to have breast cancer. Both are people I love so much, and they both opt for radiation and chemo. That is a 3-year-old with brain tumor and another friend of hers with breast cancer. They dismiss my knowledge, which is their choice. We all have our own right to choose, but I desire so badly to help the willing heal. Yeah, and do that because there will be plenty of willingness. The sad thing is the 3-year-old. She doesn't have the ability to make her own choices, so the government makes them for her. You know, someday we're going to have to challenge this government in each state on their jurisdiction over your kids and get that worked out. Because we have to figure out how that, through the birth certificate, is what the thought is, of how states get jurisdiction. Because as a rule, states don't have jurisdiction over you or your kids. You know, only in limited areas. And so it'll be interesting to check that out for those who have the brains in law. My Boston chiropractor noticed that I was recommending people have a very high fruit diet or do a fruit fast, and he sat down to talk about how he felt that was not in the best interest of our patients. Here's a chiropractor. I have been, I'll tell you what level this one's at. I have been able to explain my views, and he sees my logic in some things, but feels it's not good because we may not all have the same nutritional needs. We don't? Why wouldn't we? We're a species. See, the problem with that is these people don't understand causes. So they look at effects and they think, all right, you can't handle carbon or carbohydrates because you don't do well on them. Or you don't handle protein, so you don't do well on them. All these sort of things. What the problem with that level of thinking is, this is a state of unhealthiness of these people. And you're saying they might have different nutritional needs than a healthy person? No, they don't. Nobody has different nutritional needs than another. You have to fix the 4 processes before you can make that claim. And when you fix these 4 processes, I've never seen anybody have the need to make that claim, that there's deficiencies or someone needs different nutrition than someone else as a human being. You got body types and everything else, so what? You have to digest, you have to absorb, you have to utilize, and then you have to eliminate all the waste from those processes. And digestion, 1, absorption, number 2, right? And number 3, what's that? Utilization. Utilization requires what? Adrenal steroids predominantly, and a couple of hormones out of the pituitary and the thyroid and parathyroid. If you're going to utilize minerals like zinc and selenium, you can't make these claims. And there's just so many practitioners that live on that pseudo line of too much simplicity, my opinion, or something. Because we all need what we need as Homo sapiens. It's just that some people can digest better than others, some people can absorb better than others, some people can utilize better than others, and then some people can eliminate better than others. And there's a huge long scale of that. And where are you on that line? How much malabsorption do you have? How much digestive problems do you have? All these sort of things. But that's what we're after to fix. Then everybody needs the same program. We're not like the blood type diet. That's acidine. We're a Homo sapien species. Like it or not. And you can tell the different ethnic groups by the different weaknesses genetically that they have. Whether they're short, whether they're tall. And of course the color of the skin makes a big difference, and that determines where people have migrated before and all the adaptation that humans have made. So your chiropractor is not being, in my opinion, being truthful in that way. And still thinks that meat is essential. Isn't that amazing? That we really feel that dead animals are essential to humans. I will say this, in a bold statement, it is essential for some humans. For what reason? Some people just know they have to have it, and if they don't have it, they get sick. Look at Naked and Afraid. They had a vegetarian on there, and she kicked butt. Matter of fact, she was the best one they had on there until they kept driving, and the guy kept driving her, and she had to have meat, kept driving. At the very end, she was found out of fruits and greens and things that she would find around, so she had some kind of animal, I don't know, bug or something. But it's like, he didn't get it. He was suffering because he thought he needed protein. And that made him starve. She was eating, and she wasn't starving at all. She wasn't even complaining or bitching. She was feeling good. It just goes to show you. You know what I mean? You can think yourself needy all you want. But you can use that same mind and reverse that. My friends and family don't take me seriously, so I've learned to be quiet, and when they are ready, I'm here. Smart woman. You know, don't put yourselves, guys, through anguish when you have family members that just don't want to listen. I don't put myself through any of it. Of course, I don't have any family members left, hardly. But if someone doesn't want to listen, I don't want to waste my time There's too many beautiful souls out there ready to travel into the God worlds and ready to learn about health, and to waste your time on someone who doesn't give a care. See ya. You'll find someone someday because you're going to need it. And the more you're out there, he'll find someone that's speaking this same language. My husband is trying to understand, but he's constantly making light of my progress, my views of the body, and is determined to fall back on allopathic medicine instead of healing his body. You know, don't you suffer, sweetie. Let them all suffer around you, including your mate, if they so choose. You're the one carrying the sword of truth. How interesting that is. But we see that all the time. You know, God didn't send a bunch of light bearers, you guys. When you wake up and know that you have the ability to give the light to the world, he didn't send you in with the other lights. He sent you each into the darkness. You know why? To bring the light to the darkness. There's already light in Sedona, Arizona. There's already light in Asheville, North Carolina. There's already light in all the spiritual ley line places and all that. Absolutely. But it's in those remote areas where they're totally locked into religious belief systems and things that they're just totally lost in other people's ideas and concepts. And unfortunately, they chose to believe in those and are suffering. So there is a lot of darkness on this planet, obviously. And some of you will be in places where you're the light. You're the only light. Good. Accept that and never fall short on that. And never let anybody get you for that, because you're the light bearer. These people need what you have. And they just don't know it yet. So don't feel bad. This is common with me and all of us that put up with this. And it's like anymore, it's like, okay, I don't care. You know, it's a great message. And for those that want to hear, and there's tons of them, we're here for you. But for those that don't, who cares? Why waste your time? His mother is even more that way, and I dread visiting because of the ridicule and watching her destroy herself. You know, but you realize that each one of us make our own decisions. You guys decided to help yourselves and to lift yourselves up from despair and unhappiness and unhealthiness. And that is a mark of high spiritual beings. When you can't, you're not awake enough. You're lost in the mind's cycles. That's the trouble with thought. It cycles and then it's habitual. So it's hard to get out. It's like trying to break a habit of smoking or eating or anything. Everything is habitual. The mind is very habitual. The emotions the same way. But you're not. And that part of you, which is consciousness, seeks and to bust that chain open. So the more you can become conscious, the more you can break these chains of addictions and all these things that are out there in this world, because everything's addicting. A good mate is addicting. Good romance, are you kidding? That's very addicting to me. Having good romance with a beautiful woman, that's addicting. And it might be the opposite, a good romance from a beautiful woman and a man, you know. So there's a lot of things that are addicting. Foods, look at foods and how addicting. People are willing to die suffering. My sister, one of them, willing to die suffering just so they can eat what they want. And she's a naturopath. It's like, what? You know, I don't live in that world. Nothing in the food kingdom is so important, it tastes that good, except maybe creme brulee. Oh, But honey, you don't worry about this. And I'm reading this long letter is what she's going through here. A lot of you are going through too, and it's the one reason I'm reading it. Because a lot of you are putting up with family members and stuff, and we've addressed it before, of course, but I don't want you to ever feel down or feel like you have to make someone wake up. Nope. You're generally alone in the darkness as a rule. If you can start seeing more light bulbs around you, hook up with them. And then become bigger lights, you know. But I'll tell you, we're working hard at this end. And I don't think it'll be that many more years where you'll see the opposite. And if we can just hook to Discovery Channel and get these going, people will change their tune, because as soon as they see some of these healings, it's a jaw dropper. Matter of fact, I'm trying to get a hold of this video I told you about with this ALS case. That'll be a jaw dropper for you. Now, I want to get on with this. How do you deal with, let me see here. It's much harder to be a pioneer, to think differently than the rest of the world, and love humanity so much it hurts. You know, the only reason you love humanity so much it hurts, dear, is that it's all God. So whatever you love in humanity, you're loving in God. It's just the problem is it's trapped itself, and you're each trying to help itself get awake again. I still haven't found my coping mechanism. Meditation helps, prayer helps, but it's so hard to sit here with the knowledge in a world of death and blind sheep. Detachment, my dear, it's called detachment. And as you open yourself up, God will bring you the goodies. It will bring you who you need. It will bring you who you need and who needs you. So just relax, kick back, open yourself up, just declare yourself a pure channel for the great one, the divine, God, whatever you wish to use. And all your words, thoughts, deeds, and actions are all done in the name of the divine. So everything you do in the name of the divine. Then you will become a Jalaluddin Rumi, a great Sufi poet and teacher, educator. How do you deal with that? Surely you live in the same tug-of-war world I do. Well, you know, when I was trying to make my practices go, I did kiss a little butt here and there. But, you know, I don't anymore, because it's to the point is either you do it and get well, or you suffer. And I can't get lost in your suffering. I've gotten lost in a lot of sufferings before, and it just makes you suffer. It's like you have to be careful with a heart this big, because you can't care. Remember, it's all one. It's all the one. So even though you see individual expressions out there, remember what's behind the individual expression. The same thing that's behind your individual expression. The one. So just look at that. Just realize this is creation, and it has its bumps and humps. It's positive and it's negative. Has to be. To have duality is sad in some ways as that is, and is uplifting in some ways as that is. Duality has its great benefits outside of consciousness. And not so much not meaning outside of it, because you can't be outside of consciousness. Impossible. You can't be outside of totality. It's just a figure of speech. How do you help people see beyond their ego and self-limiting beliefs that there is something better? First, you have to see a little flicker that they want it. I just drop little Zen things. When I see somebody and they're dealing with high blood pressure, I said, oh, that's your kidneys, and I turn around and start talking something else. Drop little one-liners and act like you don't even give a hoot. Then they're going to know, well, how'd she know that? You're not engaging. Remember, there's an old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt. So, stay away from people a little bit, you know. Walk as the divine walks. Knowingness. You're getting a good sense of knowingness. You're bucking with truth here. So, you're getting yourself what you need. That's all that's important to you. And you can't look back and say, oh, no. It's God expressing itself in endless forms at endless levels. Endless states of consciousness. And you can't judge that. So if you've got a mother-in-law that doesn't want, who cares? Can't do anything about it. There are plenty of souls dying to find the truth out there, guys. And they're just dying. They're researching constantly to find the truth. Find those people. Set yourself up with a website and be a healer and work on through the website with people or something. But if you try to work on those that don't want help, you'll get depressed, unhappy, and then sometimes slip into back into old ways. You will find out that nothing or no one is worth losing your awareness and your happiness over. It's your journey. You're driving your own car, whether you realize it or not. Everything is you reap what you sow. Remember that one? karma in the Eastern area, and also physics. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. All you're seeing in health, all you're seeing in anything on this planet is simply cause and effect. There's no mystery. Cause and effect. It's only mystery when you're unconscious. And the medical community is unconscious at these levels that you're at. They have set up a whole system for themselves with the symptomology of what you know to be true, and now they're lost in their system. And they've got so narcissistic, anybody that practices their system can get thrown in jail. Or you have to get a license of the state to practice some of the treating of their diseases. The problem is they made diseases so much into the mainstream language that it's hard not to coin like the word cancer as opposed to atrophy or decay. People don't understand atrophy or decay well, so they don't understand cancer, but they do understand it's a deadly thing. It's deadly to what? Cells. You know, you have to understand that cancer is not a death sentence at all, but it is to those who choose to treat it, because it's not a disease. And when you have tumors and you have extreme acidosis that's mutating your cells, and you call that a cancer and you treat it as such, you die from the treatment most of the time. That's factual. Study after study. Oh, we're getting our page up, and we're getting links to all these studies up. We're working out right now. Shannon just showed it to me, and I've got tons of studies in here. I want her to get up on that, where you can guys finally get access to these studies. I thought this was up 6 months ago, but no. The first time I heard a video of yours, it was like a universe exploding behind my eyes and all this information, connecting all the dots. Thanks, honey. And filling in all my blanks. Thanks, honey. You are a part of my tribe and don't even know it. We're all part of the same tribe, honey bun. Just remember that. No matter where you're from. I see some beautiful souls are from Pleiades, and there's still Venusians all over the place. There's still, you have to understand why there's frequency shifts and changes and all this. And we have a lot of planets that are inhabited in our solar system, except their frequency shifts. They're different frequencies. Look up Omnic Anik and listen to her. Omnic Anik. I was inspired to look in Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. The verse is about how God made a garden with everything Adam and Eve would require to live. And they ate from the trees, not the beasts and not the ground. The trees, the only food I've ever seen on the trees is fruit. Totally agree. You know, when you put it all together, the Homo sapien came in like the primate. Remember we talked about that latest study that says the reason the primate brain and the Homo sapien brain is so large is because of the fruit they ate. Excuse me. My take on that is the opposite. God made the size of the brain and the species, come on. But fruit is required to maintain it. Why? The electrical properties and unique nutritional properties of fruit are specific for nerve and brain tissue. Remember, it's the only food that we can regenerate nerve and brain tissue with. So, cool stuff. Thank you for all you do in the world. I look forward to being a part of your community. You're welcome, dear one. Thank you for this. All I know is as long... I'm sorry about that. Well, you know what? I felt it was important to read this to everyone. And keep on going. Don't feel like you're alone. We're all alone here. But there's a good connecting link, and this YouTube channel is a good connecting link. The club is a good connecting link. Our classes, Artie, we have good connecting links. And the bigger we get, the more powerful we get, the more one we get. That's why it's important to stay focused and simplicity, not get too far off. Because when you get too far off, then the rest of the academic world starts judging you grossly. And we want to at least get the academic world to wake up a little bit and understand its academics is wrong and how you can change that to make the academics correct. So you don't want to alienate people by going too far out in the ozone. This is a good question to me that came. This is an article attached from WebMD, and it said here, My main question here is, do you know anything about fruit having estrogen or progesterone? You must be estrogenic or stimulates progesterone manufacturer. Then if you want to offer opinion on this. Also, another person told me to look at the makeup of fruit and veggies online sites, and they pointed out that fruit has both fructose and glucose, and veggies have both too. Mostly fructose, not vegetables. That's not true. Some vegetables have a little fructose in them, absolutely, especially your fruit veggies. And some fruits do have a little glucose in them. Some of the ones that are more like your bananas and more of a, I don't know, outside of the waters. Yeah. So, this article is what? Types of breast cancer: ER positive, HER2 positive, triple negative. I don't know. You're saying that fruit is estrogenic and therefore stimulates breast cancer? Then this would be totally false. Totally false. You know how many breast cancer cases that have come through this club and now have not? I'll just put it this way. Quite a few. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And what diet have they been on? All fruit, berries, and melons. That's ridiculous. Fruit enhances the function of cells, no question. And if you argue that that increases the performance of estrogen, I disagree with you. Estrogen is only increased when needed. You know, the sad thing about this is that people mistake that the human body has no consciousness to it. What? We're talking about things that are totally conscious, guys. So things like that is just crap, and you're going to see article after article out there on that. Here's another one from David Birch. An article is attached. I'll have to, you know what this is about. Acousticism. This is like this is when you get so acidic. Maybe I can put it this way. The more acidic you get, I use the word more inflamed, but the more volatile, the more sensitive, the weaker yet the more sensitive your nervous system can be, and especially up in the head area. So some people, sounds are like multiplied many times forward. So you guys are the people that need to tell people, when you have your dogs in the house and you got your TV blaring, remember they are 30 to 40 times, they can hear 30 to 40 times better than we can. So when you have your TV blaring, can you imagine how loud that is on your animals and your pets? It's horrible. People don't think about that. But it's not tendinitis. It's all acidosis. And it just makes the nervous system highly reactive and highly sensitive, highly spastic. And of course, you've got the seizure syndromes. You've got all levels of things like this. But I get an overload and pain and fight or flight from noise, especially when run down. Yeah, you know what? This also is suggestive of probably an autonomic, in other words. You might want to look at your eyes and see if you have nerve rings in them. Because, David, if you have nerve rings in your eyes, this would just accentuate that sort of thing. You know, vibrations like that can cause pain and all kinds of things in the body, absolutely. So, but it happens when you're highly acidic and it's in the eardrums and stirrup and all of this, and that's like, uh-oh. That's the head area. So you want to drain your sinuses, get your bowels cleaned up, get your kidneys filtering, work on your kidney and adrenals, your lymphatic system. Get this drained. Candle your ears. If you haven't already, candle your ears and see if that takes some of this pressure out of there. Or sensitivity neurologically. But you want to internally go in here and clean this head out of yours. Because the more acidic you are, this can get, and then you can get into some extreme pain, like trigeminal neuralgia. Whoa. You guys that are going through that, I've had several of those cases. Holy Lord. So all kinds of things like that can go down when the nervous system gets weakened and acidic. And the same thing with accentuating sounds, where one sound coming in can be accentuated 10 times. And just, after a while, being a weakened nervous system, and then where's your autonomic tied to? Down below the adrenal glands. So there's your anxieties, there's your neurological, there's your breathing, there's all of that, panic attacks. But in all fairness, the brain is stomach, solar plexus. So that can be overly acidic and irritated as well. So, but in any of these cases like this, hyperacusis, detox. That's any type of neural sensitivity like that. You're always in the acid side of chemistry. Even sometimes so bad that to touch the body causes pain. And a lot of people are at that level. Oh, no. You got to back away from these levels. And when it's in the ears, you're right up in the brain area, right up near the cerebellum, mastoid. Can cause you equilibrium, dizzy, all kinds of things, especially resounding, like I say, down through the body here. Now get this. I have been diagnosed with Lyme disease and multiple co-infections, acquired brain injury, heavy metal toxicity, mold toxicity, and Bell's palsy. Holy crap, man. David. All right, here. Get on our program. You'd be wise to hook up with a counselor. We got another new counselor, and I'll put her on to introduce her and stuff. You want to get your lymph system moving sooner than later. You want to make sure your kidneys are filtering. Pee in a jar. Make sure you have sediment. Go after your kidneys and adrenal glands, right? 2 other formulas, guys, what I'm going to say. Upper circulation and brain and nerve. Key. Also, go aggressively after your GI tract and get to see if you can get your sinuses draining. Candle your ears. Work on your neurolymphatic points. You've got to get all this acid out of this so you can overcome. All of these are overcomable. Bell's palsy, mold toxicity, heavy metal, acquired brain injury. You really want to get up in this head area and drain it. All of this just is telling you the same thing I just told you. Matter of fact, Lyme disease is just telling you, what do you have? Systemic acidosis. Well, to have it backed up in the head, it's all backed up down below. That's why you're diagnosed with a systemic acidosis. They call it Lyme, but same thing. Same thing as lupus, and the same thing as fibromyalgia. And actually the same thing as arthritis. These all can be lumped into one big pile and gone after the same way, because it's just acidosis from head to toe where you haven't been filtering, and this is at the chronic levels. As a rule, though, with lupus and Lyme, and even arthritis, is the one thing you see the most, the use of antibiotics earlier in life. A lot of these cases, a ton of these cases, and I would say the predominance of these cases, have what involved? Sulfur. And it might be in your case too, David, why the heavy mold problem, or fungus. So you really want to get in and detox your body, because I don't know how old you are, but bro, nothing good comes out of anything you just told me. So if you want to get your head detoxed and get this cleaned out of there, strengthen, get that Bell's palsy out. That's not difficult. The heavy metal toxicity, you just got to get that lymph system moving. Brain injury will heal as long as you get all this acid out of here. If not, things just keep getting weaker. Now, acids can't strengthen, they weaken. Their nature is corrosive. I didn't need to study. Already familiar with that. Yeah, I want to give this to Renee. There's something when you read them and you look at them, you're just, as a man, and if I stepped out of my spiritual consciousness for a minute, I'd walk over and get my AK. Because look at this. This is just another one of these sick stories. We need your help. Our government has taken this beautiful boy whom has cerebral palsy, okay, very curable, and from his loving home. The aware, loving parents gave him their son cannabis oil for his seizures. Now, Florida cannabis oil is legal, along with an organic diet. Here we go. They have not been allowed to see him nor been told where he is. Not grandma, not granddad, siblings or aunts. Not one family member has been allowed access to this boy. He is alone with strangers. You know, we've got a lot of evil people out there, and a lot of them are in child services, and a lot of them made the governments. And so, for some of you, knowing this planet is, don't take this wrong for some of you, but a lot of you already know this, we have a lot of visitors on all levels. So, we have a lot of visitors that are in some of these places. I'm just saying, this sort of thing is subhuman. Subhuman. So the people involved here in child services, these are subhuman humans. And it's amazing, that it's just the way this is. And to make this universe great, these subhumans have to be dealt with in some way or another. They need to go to a place where they can relax and go on raw foods and have a lot of colonics and things like that. Don't you agree? I think they need a lot of colonics, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, and teach them about how you cure things and you don't rip kids away from parents and things like that, that there are things that are cured. You see how important you guys are? Because if we don't get out there and start changing this around, it's just grabbing one kid after another after another. They're forcing people out of the United States because of this. That is child abuse, no kidding, child abuse, by the very people that claim they're trying to protect them from child abuse, right? We see that in child services of Florida. They're real bad. California and Florida child services are horrendous. Horrendous. And why? They say it's illegal what they are giving him, that he is high. Oh my God. See, unless you get some real good CBD oil, he probably isn't that high. They are calling the family anti-vax, which they are not. Their son has been vaccinated up till age 2. Who cares if he's anti-vax? They say he is underweight, but they left out the fact that the hospital is being funded to study the nutritional supplements they gave their son with cerebral palsy. Hospitals funding, identifying red flags, children and young people with cerebral palsy. Got a hashtag here. That sort of thing. I smell a rat, do you? Really? It is so much corruption and stinky stuff on this planet. It's nasty. And the allopathic medical community is steeped right in this. This is all medical. I'm here to tell you. You got to understand who's created this nightmare from hell and who's created this, I'm going to steal your kids. And if we don't stop that, this planet will be uninhabitable. I'm just telling you. Uninhabitable. You can't do that. God's not going to let that happen. So, got to be a lot of uproars. All right, so they say, stories have been spun and a mess has been made of their lives. Oh, I bet. Oh, sad. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't even help your own children. Oh, yeah. No. You just want to go out and say, you know what? I'm going to be a warrior. Forget God. I'm going to be a warrior. And maybe, you can't think that way, but it just drives you to that. Because I know if this was my child, I'd be strapping on some things. Sad stuff. Just sad stuff. And a system already full of kids in care. Oh, no question. But everybody makes money on the in child services by farming what I call farming them out. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money by taking in these children. I know a lot of people that are on welfare and taking in 4 and 5 kids, and they get paid for that. And so I knew one lady that had 5 kids. She got paid for each and every one of them. Oh, a system where children placed in foster care often can be abused. No kidding. Oh no, this is sickening all the way through. This child belongs to the parents. That's why I'm doing my level best, guys. I've got an attorney here, but we're steeped in busyness. But I've got to get her more open to what's going. She's open, but really some serious stuff going on here with the states taking the kids. But we're going to have a huge class action lawsuit with all the parents, and we're going to have to really get into the law, show jurisdiction, show what they've done with your birth certificates, how they frauded people with that, because that is fraud. No matter what you look at that, it's still fraud. It's a fraud at the state level, and it's fraud at the federal level. And it's just full of that. Full of that. I remember when one guy got himself free from the birth certificate thing. Instead of using a birth certificate, he got his live birth certificate. There's a difference. And if you don't claim your live birth certificate within, you got 30 days, and the state claims them. And there's your jurisdiction. There's a lot of guys out there that are trying to put this all together, how they're claiming jurisdiction, and that's one of the big ones. But it's fraud no matter how you look at it. When you take action to deceive others, that's fraud, especially when money's involved in all of this. Because you remember, the government uses you and your children as collateral when they borrow money. Each one of you are worth so much to the federal government. This is why they've tried to move you from state citizenship to federal citizenship. U.S. citizen is a federal citizen, not a state citizen. Anybody born in one of the 50 states here in America, in one of the 50 several states, you are actually a sovereign citizen of a sovereign state. The feds didn't like that. They wanted a jurisdiction so they could tax your butt. And so then they found a way through one Social Security number or that act to try to get you as a U.S. citizen. And most people say, yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm born in America. That's wrong. But they love you to say that. There's just all these little things. Tons of them. All over the place. I've worked for 10 years with community services, and I support this family with my whole heart. No kidding. I wish we had the power to come down on this child services family and stuff like that. We don't have that kind of power yet. Working on it. This family is dedicated to their son. No kidding. And it's their son. Now he's a little kid up in a place where no parents or nothing. Can you imagine the trauma they've done to this child for what? Cannabis oil? Which is legal in so many states? I mean, they already have legal restrictions of how much, THC and all that's involved in this. So these people are wrong. We just need to set up a bunch of attorneys that know what they're doing, and that's very difficult. The average attorney has no clue. They've been brainwashed too. So they don't have a clue either what's going on in law. They're just studying the statutes, maybe given a little day or two on common law, and that's it. They are taking on the big guns and fighting the good fight. They need our community to help them. If not us, who? Exactly, I agree with you. This boy was taken from the hospital after a get this one. This gets me. This boy was shrouded in Gestapo type thinking. This boy was taken from the hospital after a set-up appointment. His father locked in the bathroom, mother arrested and physically torn from her son's wheelchair, and others pepper sprayed. Boy, there's a warrior in me that, we battle universes. Some battle little humans. I'll tell you what, forgive me, but you see this raising my hair on the back of my neck, and it's not in anything but disgust and anger. And it's hard for me to control that when he's just a little bitty 5-year-old and the things that they've done. These are the corrupt ones. These are the bad people on this planet. And they do it all from narcissism, and they think they're doing everybody justice and right. They're lost. And these souls are so lost, bad karma. Because think of all the people that are involved in this, they're going to have this happen to them. This is a never ongoing cycle of karma that's disgusting. People have to wake up, and I blame some of the preachers and ministers for not telling the people the truth because you don't know. And you need to learn about karma and at least in you reap what you sow. For Christians, you must learn for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. And this is sickening. I hate to read on with this. Help us take back our children and our rights. We can't let the government set. And I'll try to get this posted, okay? I'll give this to our attorney and see what she thinks about that. I know what she's going to say. She's going to go out and vomit first. Okay. I guess I'm not going to get any Q&A done today, and I apologize for that, but or maybe just one or two. But I've got some things I want to cover here, and this was written to me by Matthew Tabone. This is about Luigi's Master Fast. This is, what the heck is this guy talking about? And this is the subject matter by Matthew, and it's a Master Fast mumbo jumbo. And that's just what it is. No offense, guy, but no offense. But sometimes we get a little out there sometimes in our wanting to get out there. So, can I just put it that way? Why is cooked grape juice used on MFS? That's that MF thing again. That's that master diet. The thing is, MFS is based on how the universe works. Oh, really? Rather than just what is natural to this planet. Oh, really? We do not absorb any physical matter as we have been taught. Okay? It's all gravitational, magnetical, megravs, megravs for short. The plasmatic field interactions from the foods we ingest or from environment. You know, sometimes when you get too buzzed, you can use these kind of words, which actually mean nothing. Tell you the truth. If there ever was a great plasma, what would you call that? Well, in Ekar we call it the Ek. You can call it spirit. You can call it prana, the life force, or whatever you want. Also, fire is natural. Okay, so fire is natural, and that means we should cook our food and fire our food. Could you give me one animal that does that? Sets a tuber over maybe an open flame or something. We use the cooked juice because when we heat it, we open up its structure atomically to release its energy, making it a much stronger... You're dreaming, man. You are dreaming. You don't open up any structure when you cook it. You bond the structures. Cooking is acid. So you bond, you create a cationic environment, an agglomeration environment. So you bond the chemistry, you dissipate the electricity out of it. You don't increase it. Anybody have David Wolf's latest book on beauty, where he has Kirlian photography? And I have other books with Kirlian photography to show you the electromagnetic energy of living versus the counterpart cooked. You know, no offense, guy, but you got to come up with a better reason. You're throwing crap out here that, for us in the spiritual world's bull crap. All right, and you're just trying to use big words to say a bunch of nothing. Each planet has its own food base. Each planet has its own source. Just like we here on this planet, each country has its own food sources and stuff. However, you have to look at the species that you're dealing with on whatever planet you're on and what their food is. When you wake up to the physical body, if you were conscious, you would have to ask yourself, what should I be eating? What is my body designed to eat? When you look at the other humans being, what's the word I want? Gluttonous, eating dead animals and their milks and cooking all the things and stuff. Yuck. They're out of balance. So I have to say, not, you know, in any way, this guy has his own thing. This is my own opinion, but this is my response to what he puts out there. And it's like, this is his own brainchild, his own thinking, and if you want to ride with gravitational, magnetical, plasmatic field interactions, you can. Why do we consume food at all? Why do we consume any chemistry? For the energy of it, right? You know, I've always thought the body's an energy vampire. It sucks the energy out of the nutrients and sends the skeletal system around. Although there's a lot of, I don't use the word packing, but a lot of using chemistry to create other chemistry in there. There's a lot of transmutations, or what we used to call biological transmutations. That was introduced in the early 1900s, where the body transformed one constituent into another. Good example is simple glucose is converted to glycogen or fat, and then resubmitted or converted to glucose when needed. So you see a lot of that sort of thing. And the latest it was thought, and I haven't seen any research, it's probably a bunch of crap, but it was thought that the liver can actually produce amino acids, a nitrogen chain, out of a carbon chain of sugars. I don't know about that one. I'd have to see the science on that one. So when you mix the cooked grape juice with lemon, raw or cooked juice, we have a huge gradient to allow much stronger field of interaction between the two. No, you don't. You live by the rule of homeostasis. Homeostasis simply means that if I have a cooked juice here at about 1,000 angstroms of energy, and I have a raw lemon juice here at 12,000 angstroms of energy, I'm going to severely bring that lemon juice down. I can bring the grape juice up, but I'm going to bring the lemon juice down to a homeostatic balance. That's how nature works. That's physics. So, I said this before, if you have a wheel spinning at 100 mile an hour here, and I put a wheel spinning 10 mile an hour, and I put them together, one's going to slow down and one's going to speed up, and they're both going to go the same speed. Those are facts in science. So, this isn't factual statement. And if you're going to take people down a road of seriousness, in-depth detoxification, you better get more accurate with what you're saying. So it won't be as powerful. You'll have a lot more power if you use raw grape juice and lemon juice. But these are powerful juices. When you juice them, it's just enough to eat raw grapes. This way it cleans better than anything else. If you want to understand the true science, watch the videos, which I have posted links below. Looking only at nature and mainstream science is very limited viewing window, comparing how the universe unlimited at this level as nature works under universal law. Well, you know what? Which universe, my man, are you talking about? There's many. So which one are you talking about? Getting your consciousness back, you'll see the laws. So sometimes you get into some of these pseudo levels of thinking and you bring out some of this stuff that's not quite true. But nature works under universal law. Everyone in the physical universe works under the physical universe laws. But the astral world doesn't. The mental world does not respond to physical laws at all. That's one of the problems, that when we're more in the mind or astral body, we seem to think that our physical body can supersede these laws, and it isn't true. You can as consciousness, but not at the bodies. The bodies are stuck, and there's universal laws on each realm or each level or each universe, however you wish to look at that. And these universal laws are obvious, and one of them is the law of homeostasis, the very things we're talking about here. So this is a little inaccurate in the way this is being portrayed. Also, juicing is not natural as a food source. We'll agree with that. We'll agree with that. I don't push juicing, by the way, but I don't care one way or another. Excuse me. See, I'm recording all these audio videos, and I'm doing nothing but talking. So it isn't natural. You should just eat your food. But if you want a juice, it's fine. It's good. Grape juice is real strong juice. Once it's juiced, it's immediately being transformed to be broken down by bacteria, etc. Well, in the case of juice, it's more fungus, more mold, that sort of thing first. But, of course it is. As soon as you pick something, there is a certain amount of time that you have, and then you're going to see the decay of that. which is the natural process of life, right? That's a natural rhythm of life. So yes, when you juice something, it can start breaking down quicker, but you have other benefits and protection forms that you can protect that. But when you juice, you generally drink it right down. Although you can keep juice in the refrigerator in a glass jar with a tight lid and use it for 2 days. If you're juicing and you're a big juice consumer, I juice for 2 or 3 days because I'm not going to juice every day. There's no way. So when I juice for 2 or 3 days because I want to reach, grab, drink, and go. I don't have time to sit there. Okay. And a lot of people don't either, so people don't do it. It's okay with me. Eat your nutrition, eat your health. But if you want to juice, fine stuff. If you use it occasionally, if you are healthy, not an issue. This is a new understanding, I guess. We use the dark cooked juice with a light juice to create a strong field of gradient. Okay. Oh, it just keeps going on here. Farmers used to burn their fields after harvest to raise the energy by fire. Not exactly. We were farmers, my dear man. Carbon, stronger field strength for next season's crop. Now, you're just breaking down the goodies. You're just breaking down the goodies. Making the ground breaking down, and you really don't need to do that because trees give back. Plants give back. So the ground is always fertile. I can tell you all kinds of, I think I told you about the Christmas tree crop we put in. 200 and some acres of Christmas trees. When we finally got those crapping things out of there, poor things, what a job. I mean, some of the hardest labor on the planet. But my dad wanted to put it in corn, so he wanted to plow all the stumps down and heavily fertilize it. And I said, why would you do that? Why would you fertilize it? All these trees have been shedding, they give back, that land is fertile. And I don't know why my dad would ever believe me, but he did. And when he planted corn, he talked to me years later. He said, my God, the yield was like I was a kid again. See, all these big yields of all that they sold these farmers of all these fertilizer craps, yeah, for the first season or two, and then they started going the other way. Inferior fruit, smaller fruit. I mean, the farmers have been sold a bill of goods. Same thing, strong fields, also the psyllium mix, charcoal. Be careful with those sort of things, guys. These things are clays and stuff. There's nothing really to them. Black in CANS state with the clay. Light color, same thing. So we have 3 strong plasmatic field strengths happening. Trinity. Okay. Look at diagram on page photo, all working together to allow your body to heal. All right. I would change the way I do this, my friend, and the way you word this so you get more people to participate. But you want to be real careful what you claim here. Instant healing has been achieved with plasma. Walk in with disease. What's his first big mistake right here? Using the word disease, right? Walk out with no disease in minutes, hours, or days. That is a nice concept and idea, but I've rarely seen it work. There are miracles, but they're rare on the plate. This is why you don't see a lot of people getting from the Pope what they do when they produce miracles. Given the old Mother Mary syndrome thing. But the thing is that's rare, and it isn't plasma, life force, if you want to call it that. But that's not what it's about. And where do you see what he just said? You don't see it anywhere. This is new to 99% of the world. Yeah, it is. It certainly is that. Most will not understand what I have just said. Yes, certainly there will be that too. Over 4 years of teaching, 4 years, 6 hours daily, and I have just scratched the surface of understanding. I would say that's probably true, my dear one. MFS, the MF again, is by far the most expanded system out there. Give me a friggin' break. That fits into everyone's life, working or not. No, it isn't. You can live on this system if you choose. You have been on this page. You see people's stories of results, but something, and I also have read a lot of letters with the opposite, my dear men. Truth does not change, and the universe is always in motion and expanding. Stagnation is disease. I hope this is not too far out and helps you. Yeah. Pasteurized juice doesn't rob so much of energy from body like raw does. Boy, you know, right there, guys, when someone says that, take a hike away from this person, because that's not a true statement at all. That's totally the opposite. That's not true at all. He doesn't understand detoxification. When you have someone not understanding detoxification and they're putting people on these long fasts and dry fasts and stuff, be very, very careful. Okay? This is crazy. Isn't that amazing? For eating, of course, raw is the king, but for cleansing, raw juice is like you'd compare vegetables to fruits. Oh, really? Raw being in the leagues of veggies here, per se. Oh, brother. You know, a lot of this stuff just, just even true. And it goes on to say, while being on Dr. Morse's protocols, I had so much commitment and tons of juicing and cleansing work to do every single day. Did you? Not from us. At least it wasn't from me, because I don't require that of my clients. You have to be careful what you say, because when I read it, we know what we do here. And you don't have to juice if you don't want to with us. We're not that way. So some people put in things, you know. But pasteurized juice doesn't rob so much of the energy from the body like raw does. Are you kidding? That's why everybody on cooked foods is real dynamic and healthy, right? So you guys don't want to buy into this crap. That's totally untrue. Not only the law of homeostasis, but the electromagnetic energy of a raw food is, well, look at this on broccoli. 9,000 angstroms raw in the field, 1,000 angstroms after it's cooked. 9,000 raw, 1,000 after cooked. Law of homeostatic stasis. If there's a guy or a gal there with a lot of energy and I come close or touch him, I'm going to get energy from him. You guys feel it in our classes, don't you? Remember the lady that told me, the only lady in all my years that told me that it was the unseen in the class that she loved the most. Thank you. Thank you. People don't know what the unseen of my world is. But this is not even close to being true. Matter of fact, pasteurized juice will pull your energy right down. You could argue from our point of view that sometimes that's important to pull your energy down, but you don't want to do it with things that are cooked, because the chemistry is augmented, and in some cases pulls the food to this acid side. Okay, plus cleansing wise is that totally different league, the unleashed energy wise. What? Although still so many in the raw community are walking like horses with blinders on. But be careful what you say, buddy. Glad you see some results, even though not following MFS to the book. You can have results by just doing any juices. But Matthew, we're right on. This is a bunch of hogwash. It's mumbo jumbo. A lot of this is just his own narcissism lost in this, saying things in big words that mean nothing. But absolutely. And so many of these statements are untrue. Energy is the key component of consciousness. Here's another one, and it's kind of the last one. I've got so many things to talk to you guys about. So many neat things. It's fun. Excuse me. This is one. It's from Megan, Meghen, DeSanto. Anyway, she says, hi there. I'd love to submit this question to YouTube, but I don't know how to do this. My kids and I seem to do worse in some ways on a high fruit, low fat, vegan diet, mostly raw. A friend sent me this article which may explain why we do not thrive on the diet, but I'd love to hear Dr. Morse's response to this. It's so scary trying to figure out how to feed my kids. All right, so this is really kind of stupid, though, this article, because it was about vitamin A conversion and stuff like that. And that's just really, I mean, you got to realize vitamins are really coenzymes, so to speak. A lot of them are produced in the body by bacterial action and stuff like this. But vitamin A is a lipid. And it is one of the lipids that the FDA made the Gerson Clinic cut down because they were giving 100,000 units of beta carotene and vitamin A. Being a lipid, that's pretty high dosage. And this person thinks vitamin A is the rock star in the nutrient world. It helps maintain vision, all this kind of crap like that. And let's see, here's the bad news. Several gene mutations. Oh, here we go. Damn. Here's the problem. Several gene mutations can clash BCMO1 activity and thought carotenoid conversion, rendering plant food inadequate as vitamin A sources. For example, too frequent polymorphisms in the BCMO1 gene, the R267S and the A379B. Who gives a hoot? Right? Can collectively reduce beta carotene conversion by 69%. Why would anybody waste their time on this? And you know why? Because people's bodies so acidic that any of this that you're observing in science is going to be wrong. You're observing what's happening under an acid system. So you're going to see a lot of conversions and a lot of things not taking place because the body's too acidic. And it's the same thing as saying deficiency. You cannot holler any of these things until you, 1, fix digestion, 2, absorption, 3, utilization, and 4, elimination. And you work on the elimination to get the other 3. Now, what else are they talking about in here? Bottom line, people who are effective carotenoid converters can generally get enough vitamin A on vegan diets, but poor converters can become deficient even when their intake meets recommended levels. So you know what my take is? Get yourself healthy. And then here's another take on it, gut microbiome with vitamin K2, and it goes on and on and on, this stuff, and it's like, listen, I want you to think about this simplistically, and you parents for your children. Don't worry so much. But you're in such a genetic weakness with your kids that you're seeing digestive problems, you're seeing neurological problems, and you're seeing lymphatic problems like we've never seen it. And the lymphatic problems is going to blow back on the skin. Tumors, look at all the brain tumors in these 5-year and 4-year-olds, the cancer in the eye. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time on these diets at first because the consciousness of the cells are steeped right in cooked foods, steeped in these lower magnetic energies of consciousness. If you look at foods as energy and consciousness, or states of consciousness, it'll help you a lot more understand. You'll get a lot more understanding, and so will this young man if he gets more conscious and less into his mind. He's now playing in the mental worlds where they're playing tricks on him. Become conscious, and no one can play tricks on you. But it's not important that you raise your babies 100% fruit, unless they have tumors, neurological problems, and things like this. But you want them to have a high level of fruit, but you certainly can open up the veggie kingdom to them, like cucumber slices and all kinds of things. You could even open up some nuts a little bit if you wanted to, but nut butters maybe, something like that. The trouble is, don't get too concentrated because then you got a protein and now you got weak kidneys in kids and down they go. The problem with nuts is hard to handle the level of acidosis. It's easy to whap a big bunch of peanut butter, which are not really nuts, they're legumes, right? Or nuts like almond butter or pecan butter, but you're talking very concentrated. You know, what people don't realize is nature is very powerful and very loaded with nutrition. That's what I'm trying to tell you on this, the infant formula that we have coming. We already have 2 batches in here, and I've had to order another to cut it down. Too strong for the babies. I've got it mostly fruit now. I've cut way down on the coconut water and stuff, and on the fibers and stuff. So I'm down to, but too much nutrition is not healthy either. So you're going to have digestive problems with your babies and things like that. The best thing I can tell you is learn to read their eyes so you can see what's weak and not in them. And know that when you put babies and things on raw foods, they're going to their blood pressures and things can actually go low even, because you're going to pull them back to their genetic past. Some of them are just being born, of course, so But I tell you what, I put babies all my life on fruits and berries and melons. The berries are the most nutritious, I have to say today, only because of the condition of the fruits. The condition of the fruits is reflecting farmers that don't know how to pick fruits that are closer to being ripe. And I understand why. I understand why. Because, we have a world of finances here and getting them to market, and by the time you get them to market and they're in your produce section, they're rotten, too ripe, and then so everybody loses money. Matter of fact, when I had health food stores years ago on the island out here, I had a small produce area, and it was only there as a come in, because I didn't make any money. I was losing money from it because, especially organic stuff. And then to get it ripe, it only lasts for a couple of days, and if people don't buy it, now you're too ripe. So it's a trip. It's a trip being at these levels. But you want your children raw. And if your children have a hard time with raw, then steam and cook some. Use applesauce from Red Delicious apples. Use some cinnamon in there, maybe some raisins. Get creative in the fruit kingdom and in the berries. Berries, extremely nutritious for everything. Notice how they look like the endocrine glands. Often remarked that they're for the endocrine glands, like blackberries for brains and things like that. What would the banana be for? Oh, well, yeah. Anyway, don't be afraid to feed your kids raw. If you're having trouble with them, call up here and maybe get a talk with a counselor or something and have them look into it for you. But that's tough to get. You might have to make an appointment, get a picture of their eyes, and we'll take a look at the child and see what difficulty you're having. Because as a rule, children love the raw and love the fruits. Their body regenerates. But we do have very serious genetic weaknesses here, and absolutely could have problems even on the raw trying to get healthy. Now, don't mistake healing crisis for problems. A lot of people mistake healing crisis for problems, and don't do that, because you are going to have healing crisis in your children.
Yeah, baby.
And you have to be aware of that. And when you do, you ride with them like anything else. You can't freak out. I remember I was detoxifying this mother that had cancer, and she was breastfeeding, and she didn't want to stop breastfeeding, and I'm going, holy crap, your baby could detoxify. The baby detoxified, shed its whole skin. I swear, the baby shed its skin. When the parents called and told me that, I literally just freaked. And I'm expecting them to just get on my case like nobody's business. And then Mom says, I expected that. I've got weak skin too. She said, I expected something. She said, but the skin is so beautiful now, it's unbelievable. I'm just saying. You must realize that the body is going to get rid of its weaknesses and replace them with stronger tissue. And there might be a little bump during that period of time. Okay. But if you learn to look at that and not freak out and move your babies and your children along with this. But we have a lot of mothers that have had their babies on fruit since 3 months old. And it's unbelievable where they are academically and everywhere else. So I've worked with babies all my life, and I very rarely have babies with tough times with this, I'll be honest with you. So I'd like to know why, and we can work with that. But love you guys. Keep it up. I'm so proud of you guys. God, so proud of you guys. Love you guys.